I'm excited to hear about how you help people sense into their body, because this is one of the main tools that we use when we're teaching adults how to have calm confidence in deep water, is to feel into their body. And a lot of people are like, what? Huh? What do you mean feel?
So, as you mentioned, I use breath, movement, awareness, and sound to deepen the sensitivity that we have to the internal world of our body. And so we can go a little deeper. Where are you feeling what you're feeling in your body? Or can you describe how loudly you're feeling what you're feeling in your body? And just getting curious with that. If you were to give it a texture, if you were to give it a temperature, and all of those questions are designed to help you to get a deeper experience with what's happening in your body.
Welcome to the Mindfulness in Motion podcast, the show that helps you move beyond the checklist of life and into a world of joy and meaning and discovery. I'm your host, Cori Myka, and I'm excited to have our listeners here today. In this episode, we're talking with Harmony, who is an embodied movement guide and helps people reconnect with their bodies through movement, breath, awareness, and presence. Together, we'll explore how the embodied practices can help us navigate emotional challenges, build grounded self-trust, and experience life with more connection and aliveness. Whether you're moving through life transition, feeling disconnected from yourself, or simply curious to be in a more mindful relationship with your body, this conversation's for you. Let's dive in. Harmony, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Cori. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love this. When I read your intro and was looking at it, I was thinking, oh, good. I'm excited to hear about how you help people sense into their body, because this is one of the main tools that we use when we're teaching adults how to have calm confidence in deep water, is to feel into their body. And a lot of people are like, what? Huh? What do you mean feel? I feel good. I feel bad. Like that's like can be the fullest expression of what's going on, but they're here to learn a physical task. And without knowing how to sense into their body, makes that task a lot more difficult. So tell us about how you help people with that and how that process goes for you.
So I think one of the easiest ways to explain it, we're familiar with the five senses: seeing, touch, tasting, hearing, and sounding. And a lot of that has to do with how we interact with the outside world around us. But we also have a host of senses that we use to connect to the inner world of our body as well. And we're familiar with the cues: I'm hungry, I'm tired, maybe. My elbow is hurting. We're familiar with some of those cues. Those are an expression of the senses that we use to connect to our inner world. And so, as you mentioned, I use breath, movement, awareness, and sound to deepen the sensitivity that we have to the internal world of our body. And so we can go a little deeper. Where are you feeling what you're feeling in your body? Or can you describe how loudly you're feeling what you're feeling in your body? And just getting curious with that. If you were to give it a texture, if you were to give it a temperature, and all of those questions are designed to help you to get a deeper experience with what's happening in your body.
Got it. Now, as you're saying this, what comes up for me is I'm like, well, why? Why did you want to do this? Or just the practice that we have of not doing it. For myself, I mean, this week I went to the podiatrist because I've had arthritis in one of my toes, and she sent me away to do some work and then come back. If it doesn't get better, come back. I come back and she's like, I think you broke your toe in the time between I saw you last. And I'm like, well, I don't know, it just hurts. Like the practice. And I think, gosh, I'm so practiced at not, I'm just like, it hurts and whatever, I'll just ignore it. Like, so why would we want to feel into these senses more? How many times I've felt hunger and just like, I don't,
Push
I don't want it. Yeah.
And you're not alone. I would say you're probably in the company of 90% of the population. And that's sort of my mission, to reflip the script on how we feel about our body. I think in today's world, our mind or our body is sort of like this meat sack that kind of carries us around, getting us from point A to point B. And it's what we need to live our lives, to go to the places, to have those connections with our friends and families. It's what is kind of there that we're swimming in. But I would challenge that belief, not just this meat sack. It is the vessel that our mind lives in, our spirit, our energy, everything is living inside of our body. And our body has its own unique intelligence as well. So we're familiar with the intelligence of our mental body. And really it's something that our culture has taught us to really tap into and to really prize and to use that. But there's also an intelligence that our body holds as well. And it's not just there to tell you, hey, you need to feed me, you need to fuel me. There's also this sense of knowing. And I kind of consider that like intuition. Mm. We think of our intuition in a lot of ways of maybe if you go to a psychic or you get those knowings, maybe I shouldn't go this way or I shouldn't go that way. But it's also a way of connecting to your body as well. And the intuition speaks in different ways. It could be how you see things, how you know things, how you feel things. And all of those are the different ways that your body communicates with you. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when you're trying to help people have a deeper connection to their body, it's just a matter of teaching it the language that their body is using to communicate, because we all of our bodies communicate to us in different ways.
What's coming up for me as you're saying this is putting it in the context of teaching people a physical skill that they're afraid in is there's this message of trust, of how do I trust the world circumstance? How do I trust myself in it and others in it? And when we don't have a relationship with of really being able to tap into, as you say, intuition, I mean, part of that is building trust with it, that there's information there that is useful and is good and is right and will lead me in a direction that increases my own growth and capacity in the world.
Absolutely. And in so many ways, I believe, in our world, in our society, we have these certain demands and drives, and we do, regardless of how we're feeling, maybe we need to show up to work for that 8-hour day. And so in that sense, you do sort of have to tell body, this is what we're doing. But what I would challenge people to do is to invite what body is saying in. And these fears, they can be valid. And I would invite you to get curious about where that's coming from. And, in our society, we, as I mentioned before, we have that drive to kind of push through things. But what if we were to consider those fears as also important parts of us? And it's not a matter of telling body to be quiet and that there's a need to push through it, but I believe it's an opportunity to kind of settle in with your body and to get curious. And so when you have that sense of sensitivity and that ability, you have that established language to connect with your body, you're able to kind of sit with what you're feeling and to invite it to just share, why it's there. And in so many ways, just sitting with what you're feeling or what you're experiencing. And it's not about the trauma that may have happened in the past that's giving you those sensations now. It really is about sitting with what is happening in the now, because that's one of the special gifts about your body is when you tap into your body, you are automatically put in the present moment. The body isn't able to jump forward into the future or go back to the past in the same way that the mind can. So when you are fully feeling your body, you are there in the present moment. And so it's not a matter of dealing with, traumas or experiences of the past when you're sitting with what you're feeling in your body. And so when you're connecting with what you're feeling there and having that dialogue, that curiosity, that sense of what I'm feeling isn't wrong, giving it a seat at the table and letting it know it's valid and letting it say what it needs to say. And quite often after that happens, then it's able to let other parts of you come through. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that's important to me is treating your body in the same way as you would a friend. And you wouldn't tell a friend to be quiet and let me do what you need to do. I mean, or maybe you would, but good friendships usually have a give and a take and just have a sense of connection.
Well, one of the things I like, when you're talking about that we're rewarded in society for pushing through, leading with our head and to push through something. And when we're talking about into our senses and feeling into our body, the visual I have for that one is you're expanding into new things instead of kind of bulldozing your way into things where you end up disconnecting those relationships with yourself or with others or the circumstances. I think there's probably a fear that people have of, if I'm going to sit around and feel my feelings, I'm never going to do anything. I might get stuck in that place.
Yeah.
I like to use that space. Well, that's just the beginning space for an expansion. And you can expand from a particular feeling, a feeling of confidence or a feeling of intrepidation, let's say. And we have a moment to be able to check in and see, is this where I want or need the expansion to come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm reminded of the word emotion. And when you think about it, it's simply energy in motion. Mm. And, the emotions, I look at them in a lot of ways as simply information. So for me, it's one of the ways that my body talks to me. So when I am feeling these emotions, that's an invitation for me to be curious. Like, why am I feeling this way? What is happening? And it's also a cue that what is happening to me right now is something that is important, that is connecting to me in a way that is loud and that I need to pay attention to it.
So when you tap into it and you pay attention, you notice this energy in motion. What's next? What shifts or what changes or what happens after I've identified this sensing in my body?
Well, you had just mentioned that sometimes clients may not want to feel their emotions because there could be so much emotions. And I certainly think that once you kind of open that door, it could be a little bit like opening the floodgates at first. And, you could just imagine if you've been holding something back for a while and finally you're given the opportunity to talk about it. There is a lot that you might have to say and a lot that you need to get out, but it's not that way forever. And when I talk about emotions as being energy and motion, it's a clue that we're not meant to store these emotions inside us. They're meant to run through our body. And by noticing those emotions that we're having and letting them have that space to be heard and to experience them in our body, we are letting them dissipate and run their course through you. So they will run their course eventually. They're not going to be held inside you indefinitely. They just need that moment.
Yeah, I think about nobody's afraid that they're going to start laughing and feeling joy and be stuck in it forever.
Yeah.
when you truly let laughter or joy or happiness be expressed, it expresses, it comes out, it kind of has a heightened moment, and then it softens out into a more neutral place. This is where, we talk about our swim program, right? It's calm within. It's like this idea of returning to calm. And when we allow joy to come out, when we allow happiness to come out, when we allow love to come out, comes out, and then we return. And the same can be true on emotions that we label as negative, that we are less desiring to have. But it's reminisce of how many times it's not a lot of times, but I've been at, let's say, at a memorial, right? And we allow ourselves to feel the grief and sadness. And then it goes into a funny memory, right? It comes through and it moves through. And then suddenly we're making a joke and we're laughing about this joyous memory that we have with this person. And and it flows back to moments of sadness as well, of that you're not going to have new memories with that person, but allowing that ebb and flow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that. So we talk about mindfulness in motion, like in the motion of our life. So, and you just mentioned like an 8-hour day and where you like need to get through that 8-hour day. How do you see this ability to tap into this inner feeling and be in the motion of your life? How do you see these two things integrating in together?
There's two strategies that I use. The first is, I think this is probably pretty mainstream, setting a timer of some sort to, if you're, working at your desk, to remember to kind of get up, to move around, take some stretches, get a little movement into your body. That's pretty easy. If you like music, maybe it's a nice time to dance for a couple songs. You can take a couple breaths if you're able to go outside. Getting some fresh air is just really nourishing. If you're able to put your bare feet on the ground, that's even more impactful. And it depends on what kind of work you do. But the next tool that I like to share is this is my approach to work. About 75% of the work I do is calibration, and 25% of the work I do is action. So for me, it's really important to think about the work that I need to do. I'm going to have some questions about, I have a lot of ideas, so I'll have a lot of options. I know that I probably won't be able to explore everything, and it really wouldn't be the best use of my time to do that. So I use a movement practice where I'm either moving, breathing, but moving, there's something to it, using your body. And again, you're turning into your inner world. So I'm noticing what I'm feeling as I'm moving. I'm noticing where I'm feeling that in my body. And I'm asking those sensations, how would you have me move? And so that's a little different from dance. Typically, we think of dance as like a performance, and you're kind of moving to the rhythm. And so this mindful movement, it's a little more intuitive and self-led. And so through that, I'm kind of able to distill from the list that I have what's really important to me, what feels right to me and my body. And once I have that clarity, then I'm able to use the energy that I have to make the biggest impact by just acting on the things that are really necessary for me in that moment to get me to the goals that I want. And so in that sense, it's a way of kind of connecting your mind and your body. My mind a lot of times might get distracted. Maybe you get an email and you start to go off on a tangent. But once I've had that moment to calibrate myself, I really know what's important, and I can maybe distill it to 1 to 3 things that I know I'm going to work on that are going to give me the biggest impact. And it helps me to just focus on that.
Focus on what's important right now, what's most important right now. Yeah, the brain's going to offer you a million different things that are most important right now, but we can only go in one direction. So what's important right now? I thought when at first there you were going to say, your tip is even just like to take a bio break. I mean, it can start even with that kind of place of this need, this physical need that your body has, right? We're getting a cue from our internal body. And how many people, I've heard this time and time again, how many people are accustomed to overriding the need for a bio break, right? I mean, I have a friend who's a professor in public health in the School of Nursing, and she's being plagued with bladder infections. She's like, my goal this year is to go to the bathroom more frequently during my workday. She knows cognitively that the body needs this, but because so driven in this mental reward, right? My contribution is this mental contribution that I've missed even this very basic physical need of my body. So yeah, it can be starting with that, of just allowing that bio break, and then adding in, you're saying some movement, some breath. This could be in your time when you're washing your hands afterwards, after that bio break. The difference between doing it perfunctory, because it's the right thing to do to wash your hands, but to actually be there with washing your hands for a few moments, to feel the water, to add a little movement of your body, let your shoulders stretch out or whatever you need to do for that 1 minute of time.
And that's absolutely on track. When you start tuning into your body, asking your body what it needs, usually it is those very simple things. I need to go to sleep. I need to step away from, my cell phone.
Go to sleep. I have so many things to do. I can't, right?
And sometimes it's a matter of, I need to fuel my body in a way that's more nourishing. Or sometimes it's also noticing that maybe I'm eating because I'm trying to fill the void of something else. There's something else that I need. And, and it's really, it all comes from having that connection, opening that channel to, what your body has to say and forming that relationship. And sometimes it's as simple as just, closing your eyes and just noticing your breath, noticing the flow of the air coming into your body and noticing it as it leaves, maybe noticing the speed of the breath, maybe noticing the temperature, and noticing the ripple of the breath as it moves into your body.
Absolutely. I love this. As you were talking, I could feel my own emotional responses to it, right? The initial rejection to feeling what I would need to feel if I put my phone down when I have the urge to pick it up.
Yeah.
There is this discomfort there of these habit things. There's the habit thing of putting food in my mouth when I don't need that fuel. There's the habit of staying awake longer than my body to be awake. It needs rest. But I have this habit, and to interrupt that, there's going to be a feeling of discomfort in the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And using something like, and then as you described, our breath, right? I breathed with you, and I could feel, that anxiety of the thought of having to put my phone down started to slow down, move through in the same way that joy or happiness moves through. It's not there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sensation of discomfort that you're noticing, it's just so important. It's giving you that information that something is happening, that there's a sense of discomfort in your body, and, and having that curiosity, what is it telling me? And as I mentioned before, I mean, these feeling sensations, even if they are uncomfortable, even if they are discomfort, are so important. And anytime we're learning something new, anytime we're growing and expanding beyond the zone that we've been in, there is going to be discomfort. There is going to be shifts and adjustments. And so having these tools and remembering to connect to your body, it just helps that discomfort have that seat at the table to run its course. And from there, you can continue to grow. And so sometimes it's a matter of learning to sort of be comfortable with your discomfort and to find that ability in your body to connect with it, and that willingness to explore.
Yes, either way we go, there's going to be discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be discomfort of, oh my gosh, I spent 2 hours on my phone scrolling through things and didn't get the things done that actually are more meaningful to me. So
Yeah.
there's a discomfort there, or there's a discomfort in that pause to put that, well, I'll just continue with that example, put that phone down and to stop scrolling and to interrupt that habitual way of being. Yeah, it's a matter of being able to choose the discomfort for which one's going to be more powerful in your life or more towards the things that you desire.
Well, and I don't even remember where I heard this question from, but it was specifically in reference to cell phones. But it was an invitation to every time you pick up a phone, start to scroll, to ask yourself what you are trying to avoid.
Mm.
And for some reason that stayed with me. And yeah, I had some really big insights for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had a practice with the phone. I put these mindful moments into my life, and that's one of them that I will practice of taking a breath when I touch the screen, to take a breath and to actually feel my phone, just to give myself a moment of touching into my body that slows things down, creates an opening, then to be able to ask the question, what am I avoiding here? Or what is it? Yeah. How many times I pop in there to check email with the guise of it's important because I run a business and need to check my email.
Yeah.
No, probably not. Yeah, something else happening there. I love it. Well, Harmony, tell us how people work with you, how we can connect to you. Yeah, tell us all the things there.
Yeah. Right now, I primarily work with people one to one. As you can imagine, people's experiences are unique to them. And so being able to work with somebody in the one-to-one setting is really how we can get the most impact and just unique attention to the individual to explore their individual problems. But I primarily work with people who mostly highly sensitive people, empaths, people who have maybe are feel deeply and have actually sort of checked out, left their body disassociated because of all the overwhelm, because of all the burnout, because the world is so loud. I can speak for about myself personally. I grew up in a world that was very close to just a natural environment. I was out in nature. My mother worked with horses. A lot of times we were off grid. And so I was able to just have this beautiful, just easy, without sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came in to go to college and I came into a major metropolitan city, that's kind of when I experienced so much overwhelm and so much burnout. And it didn't go away when, I made it through college and got my career. And so for me, when I came home into my body, that's when I was able to just start feeling, that sense of deep relax and to find that clarity and just to really feel myself in a way that I had forgotten was even an option. And so I help people to develop that sensitivity, to learn to connect with their body and to make those smart decisions.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the image of, it is the thing that children naturally do. They are in their bodies, right? They're without their frontal lobe being overly developed yet. They are in this intuitive state, and we all do because of the brain development and because of the way social systems are set up. We're rewarded for that frontal lobe way of being. And so it is really connecting back into a natural part of ourselves that learns and grows so much. The work of a child, they do so much. And so for us to be able to say, how can I tap into that wise part of myself while I still do have a frontal lobe, while I do get to make decisions, executive decisions, but let me tap back into the power of being at home in my body. So,
and you talked about joy. And that's sort of the trade-off when we step away from our body to feel the pains of the world less, to feel the overwhelm of the world less, to feel all of that less. We also reduce our ability for the happiness, for the joy, for the fun. So when you increase your sensitivity for your body, you're expanding the range of your feelings and emotions. So you're also opening yourself up to more pleasure, to more joy, and just to have this deeper radiance with life.
Love that. Love that. Great. And Harmony, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, www.thewomenswaytothrive.com.
thewomenswaytothrive.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
And it's a nod to the ancient practices that women used for spiritual connection, breath, movement, dance, and sound.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. We appreciate an opportunity here to connect with our bodies and to allow a fuller range of our human experience and all the energy and motion and all of our emotions.
Yes. Life is about all of the colors in your crayon box. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.